Good morning, everybody. This is Monica here. I am at Hands for Healing with Needles of Light in St. Petersburg, Florida on this beautiful day. I am about to interview Dr. Jeff McConnell. He is an acupuncture physician, licensed massage therapist, energy and body worker, as well as an educator. Let's go give him a ring. Hey, good morning, doctor. Okay, good morning, Dr. Jeff. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks, Monica.
Very good. So, would you mind telling us a little bit about your history and what you do?
Sure. Well, I started my health career doing massage therapy way back when. And initially, I was more interested in both the energy aspect of Shiatsu and the athletic aspect of assisted stretching. So I took the assisted stretching training with Aaron Mattis, who's a noted kinesiologist down in Sarasota. And right out of massage school, I got a job working at his clinic. And what I learned with him about assisted stretching and how to get your brain to turn off the muscles you're trying to stretch by turning on its opposing muscle and isolating joint by joint, I found that very intelligent from an athletic performance point of view.
Okay.
And when I combined the classes I learned at massage school about biomechanics, I came from an engineering background in the service. I fixed electronics. And when you have an engineering mind, you want to see how stuff works. Well, the human body is like a machine. But it's not just a physical machine, it's an energetic machine. It's not all solid. We know from science that there's a spectrum of energy from the solid body, muscles, bones, joints, you're moving through gravity, and you have a non-solid part, your mind, your emotions, your energy, your thoughts. These are all part of us. They're just different frequencies of us. I would call it energy medicine. So if I can affect an athlete's performance by changing the range of motion of their joints, by lengthening out certain muscles, they're going to be more fluid and more agile in their sport. They're going to have more power because they can move quicker. That's one way to improve athletic performance from a physical perspective. But sometimes people have emotional issues that are overwhelming them, and their emotions are messing with their endocrine system, and now their energy's off, their hormones are off, because it's at the emotional level. So then something like Reiki, which I learned pretty early in my massage career, Reiki is a form of energy healing where if I'm a powerful, healthy person and I put my hands on somebody who's less powerful or less well, then my natural chi will flow to them because I'm trying to help them. Well, if it's just my friend, it's not a big deal. But as a practitioner, if I have 8 patients in a day and I'm doing energy on each person, I'm giving them all of my chi. I would be diminished. But if I learn Reiki, which I have, as a Reiki master, I can attune people so we're drawing in energy from the universe that's available to everybody. We're wired for it. We're just bringing this energy in through our crown chakra, which sounds funny, but it's like a step-down transformer. These vortexes of energy go from very high frequency, like violet on your crown chakra, all the way down to red at your root chakra, being grounded in your body, grounded in the earth. And this full spectrum is in the same line where the spinal cord is, where the endocrine system is. So these vortexes or chakras and energy, like the yogis would say, it's affecting our endocrine system. So on some patients, they need help on the emotional level or the spiritual level. So I would more likely use Reiki for them. And then as a massage therapist, not every massage therapist wants to go to acupuncture school like I did and invest 3.5 years of their life and all this money to do acupuncture.
Right.
But if you learn Shiatsu, which is kind of like finger acupuncture, it's the same theories, it's the same pathways, it's the same points. The only main difference is instead of stimulating the point with a needle and then moving it to another place, I'm stimulating with my finger or some body part.
So, doctor, it sounds like you take quite a multi-dimensional approach in both assessing and treating your patients.
Yeah, I try to because it makes sense. I've got kind of a Western brain that wants to look at it anatomically, chemically, structurally. And then there's the energetic part of it. We have pathways of energy that are conductive. Modern science is caught up with ancient medicine. As an electronic engineer, I used to use a multimeter. And a multimeter, you can use the leads to put, to find out how much voltage is in a certain part of the circuit, or to measure how much resistance is in a certain part of the circuit using your ohm meter or your voltmeter to check the voltage. Fast forward to the present, I haven't finished the training yet, but I've got this thing called the Accugraph. It's a diagnostic piece of equipment that's like a glorified voltmeter for humans. When I put the leads on certain places on the patient's pathways, the software can read how much energy is there, and it extrapolates out of all the pathways in your body, and you've got dozens all over us. It figures out all of them. Once I do all 12 major channels on each side of the body, it figures it all out and then gives you a score from 1 to 100. They call it a pi score of your general vitality of chi. So 100 would be maximum health, and 1 is you're barely alive. And so I can rate to see how fast my patient's progress are going on. Not only that, but the other part of it is, it's like an ohm meter. It measures resistance in the circuit. We learned long ago in science that where there's a pathway of energy, whether it's on an electronic piece of equipment or on a human, wherever there's a current of energy, the amount of resistance along that path is less. So they've measured it on the human body. The skin resistance along the meridian pathway is less than the tissue right next to it. So this equipment is able to measure the resistance in each of your circuits, each of your meridians, these energy pathways, and figure out, again, measuring them all and plot it on a bar graph on your laptop to show, let's say Monica has injured her right knee playing soccer, and her right knee is a little bit hosed up compared to the left one. If we measured both legs and all the channels running through it, the software would detect there's more muscular tension, there's more resistance, there's more inflammation along that left side of channels. They're going to be more restricted, so the energy doesn't flow as well. Just like if I take the dimmer switch, I can go from bright to dim by changing how much resistance is in the circuit. We know that from an electronics point of view. It's the same thing on the body. Muscular tension, emotional tension, psychic, wherever it is, resistance to the flow of energy is going to cause problems.
So you have a device that can measure this resistance in all of those areas. And what's it called?
An accugraph.
Okay, and do you use it on all of your patients or just upon request?
Both. It's part of the initial evaluation fee if the patient decides to do that, and it can be a part of a continuing plan. Let's say my patient comes in May, I do the accugraph reading on her, I do a number of treatments on her, and then we do a follow-up. One other thing I didn't mention about the accugraph that I find super exciting about the potential, there are a lot of things that are going on in the human body that either the patient doesn't feel any symptom for, or the doctor doesn't notice any disorder of, and thus it goes undetected until there's a problem and the body says, hey, we got something going on here, and now you pay attention to it. One of the things that the accugraph is able to figure out is figuring out between the amount of chi that you have flowing through your circuits and the amount of resistance in the circuit that it's figuring out. It will list a list of suspected symptoms that the software thinks that patient will have with that set of disorders. So what it allows me as the doctor or as the teacher to figure out what else is going on in my patient that they don't know about. Monica could have come into my clinic saying, hey, my left knee hurts. I treat her left knee feels better depending on what treatment I use. She's happy, I'm happy, she leaves. But she could have stuff going on that neither one of us is aware of, that's underneath the surface. There's no symptom that showed up yet. And this thing could show up saying, hey, by the way, check her thyroid or check this or this. And then we both know, oh, and then when I go check this or this, and then use whatever technique I'm going to use, then we can check her later to see if it worked. And I haven't done this yet in my Shiatsu classes, but I'm super excited about the potential. Again, as a massage therapist, I don't have to use a needle to do this. If I had a class where I had somebody in the classroom, and let's say it's Monica, and I said, has anybody here got a pain? Monica raises her hand. I ever come up there. She doesn't tell us what it is. I measure it. And I say, well, it looks like there's something going on with her left knee here. She says, oh yeah, I hurt my knee. And then I have a Monica's seminar partner who's going to be practicing the Shiatsu routines on her, just like she's going to be practicing on her partner. Then at the end of the seminar, we can test Monica again to see, has this changed? Did the Shiatsu help resolve this? Now, I'm not certain, to tell you the honest, I'm not certain how fast the machine will recognize the change, because I think it's going to be individually driven. I've got some of my patients who come in and they're like a 7 out of 10 pain, and they'll leave it a 2 out of 10, which is very good. It's a fast change, but not everybody changes that quick. So if Laura changes that fast and I tested her at the end of the seminar, yeah, it might change that fast for her. But somebody else, it might not be till the next day that they notice the effects of the treatment. So maybe the accugraph wouldn't show it in the classroom. But nonetheless, for the student's learning ability, I mean, if I was a student, I would love to see what's going on in my body. So I'm looking forward to using this on myself as well, because we should all know what's going on that our body hasn't like shown us a loud enough symptom that we can like, oh, I need to look at that.
Absolutely. So it sounds like you're not only treating, but preventing as well.
Ideally.
In a sense.
Ideally. And that's really one of the toughest sells that I found as a healer in general is prevention. Because if it's not broke, people don't want to fix it. But although one of my friends who used to work with me at NCR, he says, yeah, and if it jams, just force it. If it breaks, it needs replacing anyway. But the reality is, if we take care of stuff before it's a major problem, it's a lot easier to resolve. I can't say that I can fix everything, obviously, but if I can assist the body in its own healing process, I mean, any doctor or healer is just assisting the body in its own healing. But by doing intelligent touch at certain places of the body, or affecting certain energy centers, or lengthening certain muscles, whatever it is, there are things that are affecting us that are causing certain symptoms. Some of the issues at the patient end, and some of it's at the doctor end. So if the doctor end resolves the issue, let's say whatever it is, but if the patient end, they continue to do something that's aggravating or causing the issue again, then it's not going to resolve as fast. But if the patient and the doctor are working as a team, they have a goal, and they're both going to work towards that goal, whether it's drinking water after a treatment, or stretching out short muscles, or doing energy treatments you learned how to do. There are things that the patient can do to help their own body, and then when they come to the physician or the healer, then we can assist them in their process. It's their body, it's their life, we're helping them.
Beautiful. So you are also empowering the patient to heal themselves as well.
Ideally, yeah.
So
we're all more powerful than we believe. I say that to everybody, but it is true. We are far more powerful.
True.
Our mind is clearly affecting our body. Yes. Whether we want to accept it or not, or aware of it or not, it is affecting it. So having proper thought, being aware that our thoughts can affect our body. It's not like we got to be paranoid of bad thoughts. Just be aware that it has an effect. Whether we're watching bad news on the news, whether we're having our friend talk crap about us, or we're talking crap about ourselves. We need to be careful about how we talk to ourselves. It sounds a little woo, but the reality of science is showing that our mind is affecting reality outside of us. Dr. Emoto's water pictures that a lot of people have seen by now, this doctor showed that water molecules that stayed water, they would rearrange themselves depending on what was going on, including writing the word love or hate on the label holding the water as you freeze it. Now, if water on a desk can respond to the thought of the doctor or the scientist writing words, the intent they have, if the water on the desk can respond to that, clearly the water in every cell of our body is going to respond to our thoughts. So you want to think loving thoughts. You want to think powerful thoughts. You don't want to think negativity because your cells are listening to you. It sounds funny, I know, but the reality is, it is true. Our mind affects our body in one direction or the other.
Absolutely. And you can see Dr. McConnell here, healthy as ever, plays soccer every weekend. Is an embodiment of this healthy lifestyle and truth. So, Dr. McConnell, we noticed that you have a couple of seminars coming up in Shiatsu as well as active isolated stretching. Is that right?
Yes. Just so I can explain what that is. Like say, for example, if you laid down on the table and your hamstrings were short and you said, oh yeah, you can stretch my legs, and I just took your leg and I pulled it up towards your head, I'd stretch your hamstrings. But at some point your hamstring would say, that's enough, and would start fighting back. And if I was strong enough, or you were not as strong, I could make that muscle stretch, but it would fight the whole way. But active isolated stretching is using something I learned from Aaron Mattis at his clinic. The nervous system is set up so when the brain sends a signal to an agonist, let's say my bicep to contract, it's sending a signal to my tricep to relax. So if I wanted to stretch my tricep and I flexed it this way, I'm stretching the tricep at this end. But if my brain tells my bicep to also bring my elbow all the way up, I'm stretching my tricep out because my brain is telling my tricep to let go because my bicep is shortening. That's called reciprocal innervation inhibition. And this type of stretching that I'm teaching is based upon that theory. Any muscle of the body you want to lengthen, if you can figure out how to turn it off electrically, nervous system wise, it's going to be more agreeable to stretching versus me just making it stretch. So I've had a lot of success in my career by using these techniques, because how many people sit for a living? They sit in a chair, they sit commuting, they sit at the computer, they sit on the couch, they sit, they sit, they sit. So what happens is our hip flexors tend to get very short. And since they're shorter, they're getting a little bit more tone or strength. Well, the hip extensors, the glutes and the hamstrings, they're getting weak sitting there the whole time. So you're sitting on your butt, it's getting weak, the hip flexors getting shorter, and what eventually happens is the hip flexors will start pulling the pelvis forward. So pretty soon, like your butt and your belly are sticking out, and your low back is tight as crap. So if you massage the low back, it feels better because somebody's massaging your low back. But that's the effect of the pelvis being tilted forward. It could be tilted forward on more on one side because Monica's a left-legged soccer kicker, so it's going to be more on the stronger side, but it could be even. It could be either way. And by releasing certain musculatures, we can get it to come back to normal alignment with gravity. It's all about balance and, well, it's balance about energy and it's balance about the body. We need to have it as harmoniously moving through space as we can. Biomechanically efficient, energetically efficient. And one more thing about the biomechanics. Now let me show you this chart. So for example, let's take a soccer player, because I just play soccer. So oftentimes athletes will injure their hamstring. They'll tear it. They'll call it a muscle pull. There's a urinary bladder channel that starts in the inside corner of your eye, goes across the base of your skull. So sometimes occipital headaches are caused by energy blocked up here. It comes through the mid-back, where a lot of times people complain about all this tension through here. It goes right through the low back, where many people have pain. It goes down through the hamstrings, comes back up, and then comes all the way back through the calf, all the way down. So as an athlete, as a runner, as a soccer player, you are going to be using your glutes and your hamstrings to sprint forward. They need to be long enough to do that, or they're going to tear. So if I approach the athlete to improve their performance from a stretching point of view, from a biomechanic point of view, I would help stretch out their hamstrings, their hip flexors, to make sure their hip joint can move as efficiently as possible, to make sure their knee joint can move as efficiently as possible. But if I added in the science of Shiatsu or acupuncture, there are pathways of energy that run through the hamstrings. There are pathways of energy that run through the hip flexors, through the abductors, through the adductors. And if all those pathways are fully opened, they're going to provide more energy to the muscles. So let's say you have two athletes line up to face each other on the track. One guy's very flexible, and the other guy's not very flexible. The flexible guy's going to have the advantage because his range of motion is going to be better. He'll have more leverage and force available because the joint goes at greater range. His muscles will offer less resistance, so they'll move faster because there's less resistance holding it back. And because his muscles are more flexible, the energy is going to flow better because there's less resistance. But if I did, and that's because I was helping by the stretching, but let's say the other guy comes in and I'm doing Shiatsu on him. I'm doing Shiatsu on the very muscles that he needs to work, the energy pathways through there. And by getting the energy pathways to fully open up, the amount of energy coming to those muscles is greater. So there's more power or nerve force available from these meridians. And that's going to help his muscles as well. So in both cases, both athletes' performance would be improved. It's just from like different speeds. The one guy, I'm working at the slow enough energy speed where it's muscles. The other guy is at the energy level. But imagine that you did that on both techniques on the same athlete. You've stretched his muscles out. So biomechanically, he's much more fluid and fast. But you've also taken care of the 6 energy channels that are running up his legs or down his legs, and you open those up. We know in the NFL, if you can run a 4.5, okay, you're a pretty fast running back. 4.4, all right, you might be a pretty good receiver. Run 4.3, everybody knows who you are. And occasionally people run lower than 4.3. Everybody on the planet knows who they are. Those are hundredths of a second. The difference athletically between lots of people is not that great. Making small little changes in your performance that's not going to throw off your PEDs because you're not using a performance enhancing drug. You're adjusting the body physically, energetically. You can change performance dramatically by making small little tweaks. Every athlete's going to compete. They're all going to work out. They're going to lift weights. They're going to eat. But not everybody's taken this approach. If an athlete does, their performance would be better. Now, I know how to do this, so my patients can benefit from this. But my Shiatsu students, my stretching students, they can also learn this stuff. You don't need a needle to do this. This is sufficient. And while needles occasionally scare people, This doesn't scare anybody. I've done shiatsu on little babies. It's fun. They think you're playing with them. Everything's tiny. You have to like find out where it is. But as you touch these little points, they think you're playing with them. They're energetically very open. They respond very fast. It's cool as crap. And this doesn't scare them at all.
So shiatsu is just like finger acupuncture.
Very much, yeah. I like to describe it as finger acupuncture. Yeah.
So for your shiatsu seminar, who would typically take this class? Who is it for?
I'd say my primary student over the years has always been a massage therapist, because as a massage therapist, you can use it in your career. But the general public can also learn it, because again, I have an assistant, and she could learn how to do it as well, because even though she's not in the healing field like I am, she's not doing it for a living, she could learn how these very shiatsu points. So if she's having, let's say, menstrual issues, and she knows it's her liver chi stagnant, she knows how to work that channel, or her friend's having a sinus headache, and you go, oh, I know, the stomach channel goes to there. You can do some of these points to help yourself maintain a more healthy body. Just like you could learn the stretching on your own, not as a career, to help your body stay athletically healthy. Whether you're an athlete or not, you still want your body to be healthy. You could be a little old lady just taking groceries out of the backseat of your car. For your body, that's an athletic work. You need to make sure your hamstrings, glute muscles, and everything is working just like somebody doing powerlifting.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a different strength body, but they're both doing athletic stuff. So we need to make sure we're strong through our whole life. We don't know how long we'll live, but if you live longer than you think you might, you better be strong enough to handle it. You want your body functioning the whole period. You want to dance out that door, not roll out the door.
Beautiful. So this medicine is really for everybody and for anyone to learn if they wanted to.
I would think so, yeah, because why would you not want to learn what your body's telling you, how to work your body, how to help your body? You can send energy back into you if you learn Reiki. You can stretch your muscles if you learn.
Which doctor also teaches Reiki seminars
Reiki,
as well.
Yeah.
1 and 2.
1 and 2, yeah.
Yes.
So Reiki 1 is a 6-hour course designed to help the person learn how to treat themselves. And Reiki 2, we do another attunement, makes the energy even stronger, and now you can send it into other people, your pets, your food, the planet, whatever you want to bless. This energy is available to all of us. And one form of Chinese medicine that I'm going to start teaching classes in this pretty soon too is Qigong. Qigong is part of Chinese medicine. It's basically described as energy building exercises. So between postural alignment, mental focus, breath control, we are between two poles of energy. We're on the earth and there's the heavens above. They say in Chinese medicine we're between heaven and earth. We have the forces of yin, the solid earth, our body, and we have the force of yang, energy, mind, spirit. We're both. And when we do Qigong, we're like an antenna to the heavens, and we're attached to the earth. We're conducting energy through us. And I've had some of my teachers that are just amazingly powerful. They're human beings. They've learned how to do this. I know when I got out of acupuncture school at the end of 2005, some of my friends and I went to China for some advanced training. So we went to Beijing. We were assigned to the largest army hospital in Beijing. And it was a fascinating place. We were there for a month. We'd go 6 days a week. The bottom floor was all raw herbs. So if your doctor gave you a formula, you go down there and get your bag of herbs to take home.
Wow.
One floor is all Western science, CAT scans, MRIs, Western medicine. One floor is all acupuncture, Chinese medicine, and one floor is energy healing, Qigong. And I had been doing, before I went to China, I'd been doing Qigong for a while. I do it. And some of my teachers here in the United States are pretty powerful. But when I went there, we found out there was a Chinese master who was like the 3rd highest guy in the entire Chinese army, and he was at that hospital. And he wasn't one of the presenters who was supposed to present to us, but we were squeaky wheels enough that they got him in. And this man's energy, or control of his energy, was so strong that he could literally move people around sitting in their chairs. It looked so crazy when we saw it on the video that I just could not believe it. But when he did it to one of my classmates in front of us, it was extraordinary. And as extraordinary as it was for him to stand back from my friend and move her with his energy, the thought that occurred to me was, this is a powerful man, but he is a human being. He learned how to do this. This is a human ability. And when I first saw him do it, it looked like he was doing Kung Fu, because I had done Kung Fu. It kind of looks like that. He had trained at the Shaolin Temple since he was a little kid. Shaolin Temple is where they created Kung Fu. That's why it looked like Kung Fu.
Wow.
But he was a disciplined human being that learned how to do this. So that was for demonstration purposes. But if his mind and energy control is strong enough to physically move somebody's limb around, imagine what he could do to move energy through a blocked pathway. We are far more powerful than we would appear to be. This man developed it. Just like we see athletes do amazing things like, oh man, I could never do that. They've trained to do that. This man trained to do this. It is a human ability. And I have a passion to teach people how to do this. I'm not at that level yet, but I want to help people get but I want to help people get there. Our consciousness is a huge factor on our health. Absolutely. And there are a lot of things we can do to influence our consciousness and raise it up. And that is one of my goals. It doesn't come up clinically as often because people don't come into my clinic and say, hey, I want to elevate my consciousness. I'd be happy to help them do that, but it doesn't show up that often. It's normally my body's hurting, help me. But I see something beyond just the medical application of the stuff. There's further stuff we can do.
Okay, so it has been such an honor, Dr. McConnell.
Well, thank you for interviewing me.
He is a fabulous teacher. We have several seminars coming up, and they are virtual as well. So you will have the option to tune in from online, from wherever you are. You don't want to miss out. He's obviously amazing and passionate at what he does. So Dr. McConnell, where can we find out more about your services and your upcoming seminars and all about the work that you do?
Well, that's a great question. Well, my phone number is 727-823-9000. My website address is Hands for Healing, HANDSFORHEALING.com. My assistant has me present on social media more, so I have an Instagram account, I have a Facebook account. So you can go to the website, you can find out more about me, my classes, and you can register and sign up for our seminars.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Thank you.
We'll see you guys. We'll see you in session.
All right. Thank you.